Welcome to this week's episode of Spactastic Mysteries podcast. We are in the middle of the science fiction mystery novels SpaceBase LVN Novel 2 series, episode 14, What's in the Journals. If you have not subscribed, do so now, and if you are on YouTube, hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. You and my mother were engaged? Did you know she was an Indigoid? Can you tell me about her? My father never speaks of her. I met her in my homeroom class the first day of my freshman year. I thought she was so beautiful. She had this long. I called up a picture of Abby on my QuanPad and turned it around to face him. This is my sister, Johnny gasped, putting his hand over his mouth. When he regained his composure, he admitted, "She looks like your mother." He frowned. "Do you see her like Lucky Star sees Ben and Cougar?" He referred to Jessa as Lucky Star. When he saw me nod, his violet eyes took on this hunted look. "Please tell her I'm sorry. My wife thinks I have never gotten over your mother." I didn't understand. I didn't understand why she had to marry him, why she would honor the arranged marriage they set up for her. She tried to tell me that she was Indigoid and that she was from India 7, where her family had been on the Supervisors for centuries. I suspect that would be hard, considering the only thing comparable to it on Earth is being royalty. Did Lord and Lady Camry know about you? I know they were none too pleased when I married an Earthoid. I created interspecies children. She was going to leave that life for me, but I didn't let her because family is family and preserving the seats was important to her family. I turned to Tony and interpreted. He was strong-armed by the Camrys into giving her up. I don't know if her getting away from that life would have helped. She still would have became a federal agent. I wrinkled my brow. How did that happen? Her becoming a federal agent? It was her dream. She compromised with them. They would let her play federal agent, as they call it, if she married Jack and produced at least 2 heirs. I have always wondered if she'd stayed with me if she would still be alive. I don't know because she was gone in the other timeline I've been to also. Tony questioned, tilting his head to the side. If Johnny went to school on Earth, how did she go to school with him? Every Indigoid has to spend their high school years on another planet to understand other cultures, I explained, looking over at Tony. However, those from supervisor families go to Earth high schools. My mother, my siblings, except Allie, and I did. We learned Earthoid culture. That's when I decided to go to the academy. I met Drew in high school. I couldn't stand him until halfway through our sophomore year. Johnny whispered, "Don't tell Lucky Star, but Jenna and I are separated." I love Jenna. I don't think I will ever be able to be the husband she needs until I find out what happened to your mother. I get that. Let me help you with that, Johnny, because I need to know too. Tony agreed. I want to help too. Not just because it is part of this case. For Abby and this family who took me in, for you who refuses to coddle me. That would be hard to know that your mother was murdered and your twin was mistakenly taken for your gifts. She called me the day before she was planning to take all you children and hide out at Melonbeligo. Is it yours now? Melonbeligo, Tony and I asked in unison. Yes, the Camry family vacation house. It is inherited by the oldest child, your mother, on the day of her wedding, and you, as the oldest child, should have inherited it on yours. We spent a lot of time there. I shook my head. I don't know what's up with that, but why did she want to hide us out? She thought that a secret society within the Supervisors, the Alphabet, had put out a hit on her to kill her for what she uncovered. Read the journals because they are encoded. I am on my way to you. I have some things for you, and I'd like to help you and Tony in person. I will have my company clerk prepare a room for you, I agreed, tilting my head to the side. Just tell her you are my guest. After a few minutes more of chatting with Johnny, he rushed off the line to take an emergency call from the C#. I turned to Tony and asked, "What do you make of that?" "I don't know, but I am thinking your mother is the one who got away." I ran Melonbeligo through the intergalactic database. I pulled up the current deed and gasped. Melonbeligo is in my name. How do I own a piece of property for 20 years, and no one told me? Tony shook his head. Let's meet back for dinner at Drew and my quarters at 1830 hours. Tony agreed. I want to check in with Abby, then I want to run down my contacts. We moved out the doors. A few days later, Johnny sat at a table with us in a back corner of Obsidian Restaurant. This is a nice place you have here, Tony, but I think you'd draw more of a crowd if you had music. I've told my sister that, I interjected, studying the menu as if I had not seen it a million times before, on a daily basis. What was I in the mood to eat? I didn't know. I knew the sound of eggs and chicken made me feel nauseous. I entered a grilled cheese sandwich and fries into the terminal in the middle of the table. The boys put their orders in as well. Before anyone could utter a word, I saw Drew walk through the doors, look around the room and narrow in on us. He moved in our direction. As he approached our table, he announced, "I've got it." I'd spent 10 hours dealing with shelling in Command Central and handling the issues of the visitors to LVN. This was the first time I'd been able to relax and eat something. "Whatever it is, don't give it to me. I'm pregnant," I advised him as he rushed over to hug me. "Johnny Raymini, this is my husband, Dr. Drew Morgan. Johnny manages the C-Sharp Jazz Club in DC and is one of my contacts." "Nice to meet you, Johnny." The men shook hands and exchanged pleasantries before Drew turned back to me. "I found the cure to Latcham disorder." "Yeah." I jumped up from my chair and moved over to him. I embraced Drew. "How long before you give it to the children?" He held me at arm's length and searched my eyes. "We already did. That's how we know it is working." My eyes widened. "You experimented on my children?" "Our children. And how did you think we were going to get a cure?" "I thought you would do computer simulations, not expose our children to some potentially fatal injection." "How many times did you inject them before this one?" "I did computer simulations. I only injected them with the one that proved effective on the simulations." "What do you think I am? A monster?" "I am sorry. I don't know what came over me." "I don't know if it is the Revantio or the Revantio," Johnny interjected. "That is the disease your mother had." I laughed. "It's not a disease. It is a 6-month healing period for Indigoids that happens every 7 years and has to do with atmospheric events on India 7. I felt myself stumble for a moment. I inched over to the chair and dropped into it. "Mama must have been memorable if you haven't forgotten her in all these years. She was beautiful inside and out like you, from what I have seen." "Dad never talked about her. I am at a loss as to why. My siblings and I didn't get to know her like apparently you and Aunt Jules did, and without knowledge of her, we are going to be hard-pressed to tell our children about her. Your father is a piece of work. He called me her bad boy phase. I suppose it would look like that. I wanted to start a jazz club, scraping all my money together to put down a down payment, and she was India 7 royalty," Johnny remarked, taking on a dreamy look, "but she did not care about all the pomp and circumstance, as Lucky Star would put it. She only cared about spending as much time as she could with me before she had to fulfill her duty." I tilted my head to the side and decided, I am afraid her looking into the secrets of the supervisors is what got her killed. She was supposed to serve in one of our family seats, but she never got the chance. Was it because of the secrets or because of how she would have voted? Your mother was not silent about her opinions about the issues before the supervisors, Johnny declared, looking away. He returned his eyes to mine. I am all for strong women speaking their truth, but I told her that she might want to tone it down because she needed to be there for your father and you children. Johnny, you are remarkable, I expressed, looking him up and down. You are supportive of strong women. How did you become the contact to the IIB elite? I scattered my mother's logs across the table. Let's all see what we can find in these. Drew, Tony, Johnny and I gathered around the table, sinking into the chairs. I scanned the pages, searching for anything that might stand out. Johnny did the same as he decided. I didn't know this was how my life was going to turn out, but one night a man spilled his secrets while drunk. It was information that would prevent a major disaster. I asked a federal agent regular what to do with the information. I would give him any tidbits I found out until I became the go-to person on Intel in DC for IIB agents and one FBI agent, your mother. Something caught my eye. She talked about random events, the weather, the kids, voting records of the supervisor families. I think it is about how the members of the supervisors voted, but I suspect because of the mundane nature of her entries that it is in code. I think you are right. There is a hidden message. How are we going to figure it out? Drew posed as he moved his finger along each line. You and I have tomorrow off, so if Tony and Johnny agree, I propose we pull an all-nighter. Coffee, sandwiches. I am not feeling chicken, but that's just me. I'm in, Johnny decided, running his hand over the journals in front of him. It might be fun to be on this end, to see what it is like to help solve a case. Me too, Drew stated, pulling me closer to him. I'm in, Tony agreed, touching my hand. I am your partner. I will call Abby and tell her we are going to be here all night. I nodded and advised, have her send some food to our quarters for the kids. Johnny looked Tony up and down. Is Alex's sister Abby the girl you are involved with? Your mother has been in the C# a few times to see if I know anything about you getting married again. It's daunting for me and my customers to have the Secret Service case the joint before the mama bear comes into my establishment. Tony nodded and said, I suspect it would be. What did you tell her? I told her I don't know anything that goes on in your life, especially since you have been on SpaceBase LVN. I suspect she couldn't get information out of Lucky Star, or Lucky Star did not know anything. She doesn't know, Tony admitted, running his fingers through his blondish brown hair. I wanted that cocoon phase with just me and Abby before the galaxy knows. I turned to Tony and shrugged. She knows. I didn't tell, but she knows. She promises to keep it secret. How did she find out then? Tony demanded, searching my face. Tracy came to her in a dream from what I understand, I continued, darting my eyes between Tony and Johnny and back again several times. She assured Jessa that you would do something impulsive, but it would turn out okay. But why did my dead first wife feel it necessary to tell Lucky about my current wife? It is none of Lucky's business, Tony complained, staring at me. I wagged my thumb at him and stated, the way it works is that these people on the other side come to give us relevant information. Not to gossip, Tracy told her, for a reason. I don't know the reason, and at this moment I could care less. We have a case to solve. For the next few hours, we ate sandwiches and pored over the journals until our eyes blurred. Finally, I pulled myself out of my chair and walked around the restaurant a few times before I returned to my seat. Drew reached for my hand and asked, "You okay?" If you'd like to learn more about me, you can go to my website at annagailines.com. It's ANNAGAILLYNES.com. And there you can download 2 free chapters of my book, Unshakable Purpose, and you can also download the first science fiction, mystery novel in the SpaceBase LVN series called The Last Chance Station for free. There you can also sign up for our newsletter that will tell you what's going on in the world of the Anna Gail Lines podcast and Spacestatic Mysteries podcast, which is my fiction podcast that has installments of my novels on it. Thank you for listening.